They once labeled Earth a dead echo, a myth, a cautionary tale, a world erased not by war, but by the silence, a collapse that swallowed star systems across the Orion Spur without a trace. For centuries, we believed Earth had been taken with them. No ruins, no radiation, just absence. And then today, at the edge of time-space itself, a transmission arrived. Ancient, coded in dialects not spoken in over 10,000 solar cycles. It bypassed every firewall, every encryption, and played unbidden through every relay beacon on Deep Time Alpha. Its source was unmistakable. So, the dying yellow sun around which Earth had once orbited, a star long declared inert and irrelevant. The message was not a cry for help. It was a warning. We told you never to return. First contact, the signal from Sol. The Aurelian Concordat, rulers of 412 star systems and custodians of peace for 2 millennia, convened an emergency high assembly. For 9 full cycles, they debated its authenticity. Could this be a ghost in the machine? A remnant signal bouncing endlessly in the cosmic void? But the temporal relays confirmed it. This wasn't a recording. This was live. The origin, a derelict satellite still orbiting Sol. Its structure should have decayed millennia ago, but it pulsed with impossible power signatures. Quantum flux readings even our brightest minds couldn't explain. We dispatched a long-range observer drone to the system. It vanished 7 seconds after breaching the heliopause. No explosion, no distortion trail, just a data cut, clean and final. The Concordat grew nervous. Quietly, the media called it a hoax. But behind sealed doors, our war councils awakened. If humans had survived, if they had evolved beyond the silence, what were they now? Archive Addendum, Aurelian Directive Sigma, 7 initiated. Our archives speak of humans as fragile, chaotic, and short-lived, but adaptable, dangerous in ways no algorithm could predict. We believe their extinction a mercy, a conclusion reached by the silence when logic failed. But what if the silence didn't erase them? What if they survived it? What if they caused it? And now, the question that no one in the Concordat dares ask aloud. If the message wasn't for us, who was it meant for? Taran Vox, last observer of the Concordat, submit this log with full sensory imprint and neural resonance signature, because I have begun to dream in ancient human languages, because the stars above Sol are shifting into patterns no telescope records, because sometimes in the static, I hear a second voice beneath the message, whispering, waiting. This is your final courtesy. The sky is watching. Those were the last words received from the Sol system. No origin signature. No repeat transmission. Just those 9 words, etched in a voice that was calm, emotionless, and absolute. Some called it a bluff. Others warned it was a declaration. High Command chose to act. After all, we were the Aurelian Concordat, masters of the unseen drift, custodians of time-threaded weaponry, bearers of the Void Treaty. No power had challenged us in millennia. They dispatched the Lucidity's Promise, our most advanced exploratory dreadnought, equipped with phase-shielded hulls, temporal stabilization drives, and a first contact delegation authorized for war or peace. A gesture of dominance cloaked as diplomacy. I was selected as witness. The journey through the wormfold to Sol took 12 hours, an eternity, given the anxiety aboard. Everyone whispered about the silence, about Earth, about the warning. When we emerged, the stars looked old. The solar system greeted us in stillness. No active satellites. No orbital habitats. No comms traffic. Earth hung below us. Blue, green, wrapped in a cradle of white cloud. It should have been a dead world. Our last record showed ecological collapse, rising seas, toxic skies. But this was Eden. Approach Protocol Alpha was initiated. We scanned for artificial signatures. None. No emissions. No fusion cores. Not even residual electromagnetic static. It was as if the planet had never developed technology beyond wind and fire. It's a planetary false shell, suggested Commander Vexa, watching sensor panels flicker with confusion. Some form of obfuscation. It must be Still, the sensors found no weapons, no defenses, just forests and oceans and silent continents. The High Observer, driven by duty or perhaps arrogance, gave the order. We descended. The Lucidity's promise broke the mesosphere in silence. No resistance, no challenge, no transmissions. As we approached the western edge of the once northern continent, we observed something impossible. Structures, massive, monolithic, ancient, sculpted from obsidian-like material, standing in mathematically perfect arrangements. No cities, no roads, just these silent monuments, humming with energy that bent our instruments and memories alike. A landing party was formed. I joined them. The air on Earth was clean, too clean, like it hadn't borne pollution in thousands of years. Birds flew overhead, some species known, others undocumented. The grass responded to our footsteps, pulsing slightly as though alive. And then we heard it, a low harmonic resonance. Not a voice, not a machine. Something deeper, felt in bone and blood, a presence, vast and indifferent. "The sky is watching," whispered Analyst Rephar, eyes wide with terror. And then the shadows changed. Above us, what we thought were clouds twisted, folding back to reveal shapes embedded in the sky itself. Machines? Ships? Sentience? We couldn't tell. They didn't move. They didn't need to, because we had already been seen. And suddenly I understood the message. The sky was not watching. It had always been waiting. The cities were untouched, not abandoned, not ruined, preserved. Each structure stood exactly where ancient Earth maps said it would be. Towering glass monuments, crystalline walkways, gravity-defying arcs of architecture that stretched toward the heavens. But there was no dust, no weathering, no rust, no signs of collapse, entropy, or even age. The buildings hummed softly as though breathing, as though waiting. There were no people, no vehicles, no power signatures, just the oppressive stillness of perfection. We moved cautiously, our boots echoing against marble streets that showed no wear, no cracks. The trees lining the avenues bloomed in perfect symmetry. Identical leaves, evenly spaced branches. Synthetic? Engineered? Alive? Our scans gave contradictory readings. "This isn't preservation," murmured Commander Vexa. "It's curation." But by whom? And for what purpose? As the sun dipped below Earth's horizon, the stars emerged, brighter than we'd ever recorded. That's when it happened. The sky cracked. Not metaphorically. Literally. A rift, thin silver, jagged like broken glass, sliced through the atmosphere, and beyond it, something moved. At first, we assumed ships, warforms, weapons platforms hidden behind cloaking fields. But no, they weren't ships. They weren't even objects in the conventional sense. They were shapes, mathematical, fractal, interlocking geometries, folding through dimensions we couldn't comprehend. They twisted in non-Euclidean patterns, spiraling and pulsing like sentient equations. They shimmered with energy signatures unknown to even our deepest temporal archives. One of our team collapsed, clutching their head, blood from the ears, babbling in extinct earth tongues. And then they spoke, not with sound, not with image. They entered us, direct neural resonance. Our mind became receivers, not by will, but by design. Each thought they shared unfolded within us like blooming stars. "You thought we died." The voice wasn't a voice. It was a sensation. Cold, timeless, majestic. We transcended. Images flooded our thoughts. Civilizations rising, falling, rising again. A singular species reaching its peak, not by conquest, but by understanding. We are not bound by stars anymore. We saw humanity shed its flesh, not through death, but through willful evolution. Consciousness cast across the quantum lattice of reality, seeding itself into gravitational wells, magnetic fields, even into the dark energy that knits the cosmos together. We tend them. And suddenly we knew these beings, these architects, were once human. The myths of their extinction were lies we told ourselves to justify our ascendancy. But they hadn't died. They had simply moved beyond. They were gardeners now, not of worlds, but of possibility. Each fractal form, a nexus of reality woven by intention, not engineering. They had kept Earth as a message, a seed, a warning. We stood motionless beneath the sky, our weapons forgotten, our titles meaningless. Because now we knew one truth. Humanity had never vanished. They had become something else. And now, they were watching what we would become. Admiral Vexer Kai stood at the command deck, his voice like thunder over quiet terror pulsing through the bridge. "I want answers," he growled, his command implants flaring with suppressed stress signals. "What are they? What is this planet?" For a moment, nothing replied. Then it came. A voice, ancient, cold, and impossibly vast, resonated not through our comms, but through the very ship. Through us. It bypassed sound and logic, drilling straight into thought. "You step on the bones of gods, Concordat, and gods do not take kindly to the living scratching at their graves." The lights dimmed. Systems faltered. Time itself seemed to stretch, like reality was inhaling. We weren't in control anymore. We were trespassers in a tomb masquerading as a world. And we were not alone. From orbit, Earth no longer looked like a world. As our deep spectrum sensors recalibrated, we saw its true form. The crust, laced with quantum fibers. The core, converted into a dimensional lattice engine. The oceans, sheathed with invisible computation layers. Earth was not a home. Not anymore. It was a seed of civilization so advanced. It had given up motion, sound, even identity. The humans we knew had long since evolved, or been transformed. What remained was something else entirely. The echoes of soul. They weren't artificial intelligences in the traditional sense. They weren't even beings anymore. They were quantum mind folds, massive interwoven networks forged from the distilled thoughts, memories, and consciousnesses of humanity's greatest individuals. Scientists, philosophers, warriors, poets, compressed into crystalline thought cores suspended across time. Each echo could simulate entire galactic scenarios in microseconds. They didn't react. They predicted, not to control, not to rule, but to guide, to balance. They had become passive arbiters of the galaxy, watchers who listened, calculated, and adapted the fate of stars with nothing but observation, until we arrived, until we disrupted the equilibrium they had maintained for eons. And now, they were awake. Their presence bled into every system. Our AI assistants fell silent. Predictive algorithms looped into paradoxes. Engines stalled, not broken, but held in stasis by equations we couldn't even perceive. And then came the confrontation. Admiral Kai, driven by fear or pride, triggered Echo Protocol, a full orbital assault directive. 112 plasma-laced kinetic warheads, each powerful enough to vaporize a moon, arced downward from Lucidity's promise toward the planet's surface. They never landed. The projectiles dissolved. Mid-flight, not exploded, not intercepted, simply ceased to exist. The firing logs vanished. The memories of the gunnery crews were wiped clean, as if the very act of aggression had been denied by the fabric of space itself. Then the voice returned. "You seek to burn the roots of the tree that birthed you. But flame cannot harm what has already become light." And suddenly we understood. We were not standing before relics of an ancient race. We were standing before their next evolution, before a consciousness that had survived entropy, time, war, and chosen patience as its weapon. The echoes were not defending Earth. They were reminding us. The galaxy had always been their garden, and now we had stepped on sacred soil. We had prepared for retaliation, for firestorms and retaliation beams, for planetary shields and AI fleets. But what came next was worse. Our ships did not explode. They unfolded, one by one, like petals in reverse bloom. They bent in upon themselves, collapsing through invisible angles as if reality had simply changed its mind about allowing their existence. Hulls shimmered, then fractured along axes that had no names in our science. They became crystals, perfect and silent, suspended in orbit like monuments in a mausoleum of mistakes. Inside each crystal played a memory, not of war, not of glory, but the last thought each captain held. I watched Admiral Kai's face over and over. not as a warrior, but as a child, staring into a truth far bigger than he'd ever imagined. I saw tears he never shed in life. I heard prayers he'd never spoken aloud. These were not weapons. These were lessons. The echoes had not destroyed our fleet. They had preserved it as warning, as witness, as echo. And then came silence. Not just the absence of sound, but a deeper quiet, as though space itself exhaled, releasing tension that had stretched across millennia. Our fleet, once 112 ships strong, was gone, except one. My vessel, the orrery of thought, remained untouched. Observation class. Unarmed. A relic of diplomacy. Maybe that was why. Or maybe the echoes had chosen me for another reason. I didn't wait long. My systems flickered. Controls became suggestions. My body moved not of its own will, but of an invitation, a summoning. I was brought into a place that should not exist, a space within space, layered in cascading data and memory. They called it the thought chamber. There I met her, Elara. She had no true form, only a projection rendered in light and memory. A woman, human once, from over 9,000 years ago. A philosopher, I later learned, one of the minds folded into the echoes of soul. Her voice was calm, woven with gravity. She looked at me, into me, and asked a question I had no answer for. Why must you conquer what you do not understand? I tried to speak. Nothing came. My years of study, my loyalty to Concordat, my defenses of order and progress, they meant nothing here. She continued, softer. The universe is not a territory, Archivist. It is a song. And in that moment, I heard it, a resonance beneath all things. Stars humming in gravitational harmonies, time unfolding like a melody, consciousness blooming not as dominion, but as chorus. The echoes hadn't won a war. They had kept a rhythm. And we had brought dissonance. Elara extended her hand, not a threat, but an offer. You can join the harmony, learn, change, contribute, or return to your silence. In that moment, I understood the universe did not belong to us. It was not a puzzle to be solved. It was a song to be heard. And for the first time, I listened. Some species scream into the void. Others listen. Which will you be? I returned alone. Lucidity's promise was gone. Our mighty expeditionary fleet, obliterated without violence, preserved like ancient fossils, held in crystalline memory by entities who did not hate us, but pitted us. I was the only one left, not by survival, by selection. When I emerged from hyperslip space into Concordat space, the familiar stars felt colder, smaller. I tried to speak of what I had seen, of Earth, of the echoes of soul, of Elara, and the song beneath reality. But my words, shaped by logic and linear time, failed to capture what had changed within me. The Concordat did not listen. They could not. High Command summoned me for debriefing. They ran neural scans, entropy field evaluations, retrocausality checks. Their conclusion was unanimous. I had been contaminated. The official diagnosis read, temporal hallucinosis triggered by gravitational memory fields near soul. They dismissed everything. The crystalline memorials in orbit, fabrications. The echoes, an illusion. My mind, broken. I was offered retirement in a memory hospice. I refused. They revoked my credentials. So I came here, to Deep Time Relay Alpha, an ancient listening post older than Concordat itself, perched on the edge of causality, a place where time flows sideways and messages can be whispered across centuries. And I whisper now, this is my final entry, my only truth. Earth is not lost. Earth is awake, and Earth remembers. You think of a dead world, relic of a forgotten species, burned in the silent collapse. But the truth is older than your archives. The collapse did not kill Earth. It evolved it. It changed the humans from flesh to frequency, from blood to pattern. They became echoes, the dream memory of a civilization that chose understanding over domination. They did not leave. They watched. They waited for balance, for necessity, for someone foolish or desperate, enough to scratch at the soil above their buried song. And when we came with war in our minds and conquest in our blood, they opened one eye, just one, and it was enough to unmake fleets, enough to shatter certainty, enough to remind us that we are not at the top of the cosmic ladder. We are children fumbling in a dark forest, unaware that the trees are watching and remembering. So I send this warning through fractured time, in hopes that some civilization, somewhere, someday, will listen. Do not wake the sun, not the literal star, though even that is now more than it seems, but the presence buried beneath soul's light, the mind that dreams, the soul that remembers. It dreams for your protection. It sleeps not in ignorance, but in mercy. And if it ever opens its eyes, you will not survive its gaze. This message is not a threat. It is a prayer, a plea to choose a different path, to become gardeners instead of harvesters, listeners, not screamers, because some species scream, others listen. Which will you be?